In the extreme south of South America, Argentina has one of the most fertile plains on Earth, a huge flatland that captivates adventurers, the Pampas. It has been only a century since the Pampas are used for farming and livestock, and it's Argentina's most important natural resource. Since the beginning of the 90s, Argentine agriculture has incorporated new technology, which reduced cost and increased production. Each year, crops are larger, and the production turnover exceeds the volume of the previous season, increasing the country's profits from these exported products. This increase in production is based on the cropping of genetically modified soya. Soya increases production, but it has serious negative effects. The monoculture of soya results in millionaire losses as to the fertility of the soil, the extinction of basic food products, and a massive environmental contamination. In addition, as the cultivated areas of soya grow, labor resources disappear. Thus, unemployment, hunger, and poverty increase. Argentina produces enough soya to feed 100 million people. In spite of this, half of the population of 35 million inhabitants lives under the poverty line, without access to even a basic diet. Throughout the 20th century, the Argentine Pampas sustained a farming and livestock production of top-quality products, feeding its population and supplying the markets worldwide. The need of rural workers promoted the settlement of millions of immigrants who came from Europe seeking peace and prosperity. The territory was very quickly inhabited with settlers who founded new villages and communities, which resulted in a demographic explosion boosted by the brand new railway lane. The profits from the farming and livestock production were assigned to a growing industry, expanding Argentina's economy. Year after year, the Pampas region produced larger crops of good and assorted food, in a growth spiral that seemed to have no end. And this is how the region became known as the granary of the world.
El granero del mundo, entendido como el país que provee de fibras, de granos, de carnes, a grandes o a muchas poblaciones a escala global.
In the last 30 years, the Argentine economic policy gave a 100-degree turn, and the country suffered a serious transformation. The production and development policies were ousted, giving way to an economy based mainly on financial speculation. This trend got worse in the decade of the 90s. The state stopped controlling and regulating the economy, so the large foreign companies were free to make profits of their own. With a massive industrial shutdown, the country sunk into its worst recession ever seen. Today, poverty surpasses 50% of the population, and 1 out of 4 Argentines is jobless. Agriculture was also a victim of this process. Good and varied food is no longer produced. Instead, soya and other low-cost raw materials are cropped for the first world. The corporate interests, the state's absence, and the producer's ambition destroyed the balanced production that employed laborers. That country, which at the turn of the 20th century offered work and food to thousands of immigrants, moved into the 21st century marked by hunger.
En este momento la Argentina no puede alimentar a su propia población, ni siquiera con los alimentos básicos, porque se convirtió casi exclusivamente en un enclave generador de productos de exportación que, por supuesto, afectan a su soberanía alimentaria.
In 1970, soya crops represented less than 1% of Argentina's agricultural turnover. The area cultivated with soya increased gradually until 1996, when the genetically modified soya from the USA was placed in the market. The genetic alterations of transgenic soya, the RR soya, have made it resistant to a herbicide called glyphosate, mostly known commercially under the trademark Roundup. Glyphosate is a plant poison that kills most species, including non-transgenic soya. But there are a few plant species and bacteria naturally resistant to glyphosate. After isolating the resistant gene of the plants, scientists introduced it into the soya by genetic engineering, creating the transgenic soya resistant to the herbicide. Thus, when glyphosate is applied, all the plants except the transgenic soya die, and this is very useful for weed control.
Aparentemente, a simple vista, es exactamente la misma. La soja sigue siendo la misma, pero usted le tira con el balde de glifosato y no la mata. Es algo espectacular, ¿no?
Hugo Nuciari has been an agriculturist for around 50 years. All his life, he has updated himself to increase production and to be adapted to new technologies. This spring, Hugo Nuciari and his neighbors are sowing soya on their fields in hope of a good harvest. Farmers have massively adopted transgenic soya because it is cheaper to grow than other products and the yield is higher. Besides, it requires minimum care, fumigation, and glyphosate, and the use of other poisons when plagues attack the crops. Transgenic soya and the herbicide glyphosate constitute together a very profitable production pack.
Tanto la soja como el herbicida fueron, invenciones o son patentes de una compañía internacional que es Monsanto, y que a su vez le comercializa la patente a nivel mundial. Ese es el paquete, si se quiere, que ha logrado entrar en la Argentina de la mano de otro proceso muy importante que es la siembra directa.
The no-tillage system produced a revolution among agriculturalists, and it was essential to the expansion of soya. With no tillage, the soil is plowed up, and the seed is introduced over the dry remains of the previous crop, without stirring the soil. All the work is done in only one pass with the machine, simplifying the agricultural tasks.
Prácticamente de lo que antes teníamos una playa de herramientas para trabajar el suelo, ahora eso lo reemplazamos con un fumigador y una sembradora, y nada más, digamos.
Just like the transgenic soya, the no-tillage system also contributes in the profits because working the soil less means employing less manpower and using less fuel.
En relación, por ejemplo, al cultivo convencional, a través de la maquinaria agrícola, donde se consumía millones de litros de gasoil, empezamos a sacar la cuenta que era pero tremendamente beneficioso hacer siembra directa con glifosato. Hoy con la soja transgénica, siembre torcido, derecho, siembre redondo, después le manda el avión y punto.
Out of the last 9 crops Hugo Nuciari has sowed in his farm, 6 were transgenic soya, and most agriculturalists did the same. In 70